The future is here. The internet is here. It's going to continue to be a crazy Wild West place where we get to come and talk to you about comics and other things, but there's always somebody out there trying to steal your money or your identity or your social security number or your grandmother's social security. You know how this goes. But our two guests today on the show are responsible for a comic book series that may help you avoid becoming just another statistic. This is Talkin' Shop. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talkin' Shop. I am producer Kyle. Miss Jen sends her regrets. She wanted to be here, but when you see why she missed out, boy, oh boy, are you going to lose your minds. So just trust me on this. As much as you don't want to see me, you're going to want to see what she ditched us for. So that said, I want to bring in two people that I have had the pleasure of talking to several times in the last few months, who are responsible for a series of comic books that are coming out that I am so excited for. I can't even begin to put it into words. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the people behind The Future Is, Joe Keatinge and Fred Van Lente.
Hello.
Aloha.
How's it going? Thanks for having us.
Greetings from the present.
Oh, man. So thanks for coming on, guys. I want to get started right at the beginning. Give everyone who's here kind of the rundown on what The Future is.
Fred, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Well, The Future is a 60-issue, 5-year science fiction adventure series set in the not-so-near future where nobody has rights. They have terms of service. The hacker wars are over. Black Hat's won. But there are some heroes out there. There are some white hat hackers, gray hat hackers, if you prefer, working in the digital underground, trying to save people from technological nightmares. We did a podcast recently where the host, another retailer, described it as Black Mirror with hope. I like that. I totally going to steal that description and run with it, and so I am. I've also been calling it as a cyberpunk Mission Impossible. And what's really cool about it is that the concept of doing such a series and a lot of the info we're getting about it is coming from an actual information security company, Black Hills Information Security, which is the corporate parent, I don't know how to describe it, of Rekcah Comics. Spell Rekcah backwards, and you'll get what that's all about. Did that sum it up good, Joe?
Dude, you nailed it 100%. I mean, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, well done, Fred.
Yes.
So
people pay you to say things. Usually in
well, they pay you to write things, so I figure you can say them pretty well, right?
That was my thinking too. I was like, this guy's good with words. He'll know what to say.
Let the word guy use the words.
That's right.
But yeah, and we're making like really good comics. Like this, just the breaking news. I just got my comps in a number 1. And I was describing the gentleman beforehand. It's a beast of a book. It's the first issue, right? 100 pages, $13, $13.37. Hacker lore, you know what that means. But anyway, and yeah, it's great. Done in one story, written by Fred, drawn by Ennio Buffy, colored by Andrea Maloney, lettered by Taylor Esposito, killer Jay Lee, June Chung cover. And yeah, man, I was telling him before too, I think it's an Alan Moore quote describing comics as like a slab of pop culture. I don't know if he really said it, but it's good. And I feel like that's what this is. And yeah, as Fred said, there'll be 59 more of these, usually around a third, 20, 24 pages. Next issue is a 40-page plus cover. So it'll change a little bit, but it's always going to be a lot of solid comics. And like, that's mission 1. Like the owner of the company, the owner of the Black Hills that owns Rekcah, was like, you have 2 missions. One is just tell good comics, worry about cybersecurity stuff later. Make your comics, worry about cybersecurity stuff later. And then the second one being the reader's always a hero of the story. I think we got a killer team. It's not just me and Fred. Jason Blanchard's the chief creative officer at Rekcah, and Deb Wigley works with him. Adam Freeman, a lot of you guys probably know his name. He's our publisher, through Prana. And yeah, man, good stuff.
So according to hackernews.com, Alan Moore didn't exactly say a slab of pop culture, but close enough.
Yeah, I was looking at it beforehand. It's someone said it somewhere. I think it might have been him, but
it's fine. It's close enough to an exact quote for Alan Moore that we'll
whoever said it or didn't say it, that's what this is, and it's really good. It's really killer. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, and we all know if we're going to quote Alan Moore, there has to be a lot more expletives in there.
That's fair.
So that's the big difference.
Incantations.
Yes, absolutely. And we all need to grow our beards out a lot more.
You can only refer to him as the original writer, or he gets very annoyed.
It's true. Very true. So before we dive into the future which we're going to spend a lot of time on, I want to ask Joe about some stuff that he has done previous in his career, and I want to ask Fred about some stuff that he has done previous in his career.
Oh, okay. Sure.
But just so everybody knows, if you've been reading the Valiant Resurgence stuff, that's that guy. Joe, real fast, or not Joe, Fred, real fast. When they come to you and say, "Hey, we want to reboot the Valiant universe,"
right?
And you're doing that, and you're doing this. How does that work for you? How do you approach that as a creative process? Having a big universe to build and a big universe to reinvent.
Right. And to a certain extent, kind of destroy it to a certain degree in Resurgence in the first place. Yeah, they kind of wanted a Resurgence of the universe kind of ended up being the culmination of a ball that got rolling in 2012 with me and Robert Venditti and Josh Dysart and Dwayne Straczynski and all the other creators who worked on that relaunch. And it was sort of neat. It was kind of sort of cathartic to be there both at the beginning and at the end. I feel like I kind of specialize in like closing comics runs. Like I wrote the last issue of the Amazing Spider-Man Brand New Day run, for example. So I guess I'm just the Undertaker, the Grim Reaper, if you will, of comic storylines, but in like an exciting, positive way, you know. But that was fun. And then now we're redoing, I'm doing a whole new book for Harbinger as part of the Valiant Beyond line. That's a really exciting take on the characters. Josh Dysart's Harbinger and then Imperium Realm is probably my favorite thing that I ever read in Valiant Comics. So I'm definitely doing a bit of it. I'm doing my own thing, but I'm definitely, I think it retains the spirit of what he was doing, although it's a brand new jumping on point. Much more sort of, I wouldn't go as far as call them traditional superheroics. It's about a society where the superpowered people have taken over. Like, I know a lot of people are into the X-Men and that's cool and everything, but like I've never quite bought the X-Men, mostly in the we're an oppressed minority thing. I feel like if there were superpowered mutants in our society, just sort of how I feel about vampires. Like I never bought vampires hiding in the shadows. If there were super bad people, they would take over pretty quickly. Like we not a lot of room for us. So my new Harbinger is about a world where the Psyots, the superpowered people, take over, and they claim to be running a benign government, you know, and so. We sort of get to explore the ramifications of that, and the Harbinger team is the official team of the of that government, and it's fun. It's like I've never done like straight up superhero like soap opera, and that's what this is in a grand scale, and it's really exciting. And I wish it'd be nice if I was given the freedom of having 60 issues like I do in The Future Is to tell sort of that broad of a story. But see, I brought it back the thing we're plugging.
Well done. That was impressive.
But a lot of that creative energy it's very because Future Is much more of a thriller, science fiction. It's also a team book. We also have the fantastic cast of characters we'll get in later. But with Harbinger, it's for the first time I'm doing like a Claremontian, kind of superhero bazillion member casts, bazillion storylines. I think people get a real kick out of it.
Very cool. When you sit down to write, how do you approach breaking those stories? The Claremontian Harbinger versus the futuristic thriller kind of thing. Do you start in the same way? Do you approach them differently because they're different sort of concepts?
I read a lot, like I research a lot. I mean, not less so for Harbinger. Like one of the great things the Rekcah guys did was that they gave me a bunch of really interesting books about things like augmented reality. Um, like will we get your dogs to talk? That kind of stuff, like the really kind of future, cutting edge future stuff. That was really interesting, and I incorporated a lot of that into the series. But no, it's all make believe. I mean, whether it's naturalistic or whether it's superheroes or whether it's something in between, like the future is. Like what I do, the main way I work, and I've worked this way for many years, to the point where I can't remember where I started, was I always write the dialogue first. I write the dialogue first, and then I go in and layer in the visuals as the last step, because that way then the visuals are being driven by the characters and what they care about and what they're interested in. Because honestly, most of fiction writing, narrative writing, is character work, because at the end of the day, everyone on this call and watching the show has put up with some piece of garbage media that you personally love, even though perhaps your super ego knows that this is not the greatest thing put together in the world, because you love the characters. If people don't love your characters, you don't have anything. And if people do love your characters, they will let you get away with murder. So ideally, though, everything should be good.
Do you do page and panel breakdowns, or are you solely I'm just curious from a craft perspective, are you solely doing dialogue first? Is it just
Yeah, no, it's just pure.
Oh wow, very cool.
Pure dialogue. I actually don't have anything on my computer right now. I turned in a script this morning, which would have been, but yeah. So it's like I put it. What I haven't told my students, like, I teach a lot of writing a lot. Like what I tell my students is that writing is a really weird activity, in that it's a thing where you don't know what the thing is until you finish it, and then you've got to go back and redo it. It's a lot like it's like, I like to say, it's like the opposite of a car accident. Like you come out of the car accident and there's body parts and blood and there's a hubcap and there's a fender, and then you've got to take all that metal and upholstery in humans and just and pull back the time and make it back into a car and people in the cars and going off on their way. Like that's what it is. It starts out as a mess, and then you've got to make it go.
Cool. Very cool. Joe, you have a not unimpressive career as a writer as well. In fact, you wrote one issue of one of my favorite things to ever come out of Image Comics, which is Negative Burn.
Oh wow, really? That's like the first thing. That's going way back. I had no idea.
Fun fact, that was my favorite. My first comic story was in Negative Burn, although when it was at Caliber.
Oh, thank you, Joe Pruitt, for that one.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I think maybe that's the connection we all have, is Joe. I worked for Joe for a while too. So it's one of those like, and
that's awesome.
Friends with Gary Reed from Caliber, the late Gary Reed, and sit on the board of the Gary Reed Awards. So, it's one of those things, is that book has always held a special place in my heart. But as a writer turned editor, how do you take the skills that you had as a writer and move into the kind of editorial process that you oversee at Rekcah?
Well, I was editor first. So, if you go way back, I was a color flatter first, but let's not go that far back. I worked at a publisher, Image Comics, not doing editorial. I was doing I was a traffic manager, so it was like printing, scheduling, distribution, and did marketing and sales for a little bit. My favorite stuff was the editorial, the traffic stuff. That was a lot of fun, like coming up with scheduling, printing, distribution, working with different printers, working with creators, what kind of book do you want to tell, Okay, in terms of like, how do you want this to look? And of course, Eric Larson at the time was the publisher, and like, what does he approve? Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, and then in the course of that, I was seeing all these brilliant creators kind of really fall under the radar. And a friend of mine had inherited this other anthology that was like, he was going to do like volume 2 100 pages. I was like, dude, we should just do a big brick of the comics and take, like, I know a bunch of established guys, and there's this little like slab, was probably like a 48-page thing, and then like I know all these creators, let's just bring them all together in a massive book. And that we called that Pop Gun. We did 4 volumes of that, and that won the Eisner and a couple of Harvey awards, and did real well. And then like, that's my favorite thing, is like creative problem solving. Like, we have a need and we have these parameters, we have X budget and we can X creator, we can do this, we have this format, and figure it out. And that was really cool. So, and obviously, like, yeah, I've written too. I think the skill set that I have through the image job and through the editorial and through the writing is it's not just for writers, but I feel like I can, like, I'm working with this artist right now on a cover. I don't want to say who just yet because I want the cover to come in, but it's like we have this need from Rekcah for this storyline, and there's a special thing it's involved with it in terms of how it's going to be promoted. Again, save that till later. And so I need to talk with this artist about how to get the best work out of him, and utilizing his skill set and the kind of things that he does for what our needs are. Like I love helping facilitate just great work being done by people. And Fred's an amazing writer. Like, I love this book. It's not a book I'd want to write because it is so complex, but it is one that I really love being part of this team from editorial capacity on. Like here's an example of a challenge that I have, and I'll just talk a little bit behind the hood here or under the hood here. I wanted us to, like, I wanted you to go to a comic book store and again, see it from across the room. And so every single artist that we're working with on covers, there's only one cover. There's not a bunch of variants, it's just one. And every single one is a total banger. And it's not just, I'll pick randomly from my Rolodex and see who's good, because I know a lot of artists. I've worked in publishing, I've worked as a writer. And so, like I said, like the first 7, so we do is top of the dome here. Jay Lee, Mike Huddleston, Rob Guillory, Jim Mahfood, Brandon Graham, Nick Patera, and Michael Allred. So each one had to be approached differently. We had different storylines. And, Fred, Adam, and I, did a bigger, they did a writer room before I joined on. Then we did one after I joined on. And it was like, or creative summit, maybe a better term. And so I was able to, okay, great. Now I know exactly what's we're going on here, what kind of stories Fred wants to tell. So we have a thing coming up, for instance, that's it's almost like a horror tinge. That's a different type of artist, right? So I guess this is it. To really answer your question, I'm a translator. I translate artist to publisher, and in this case, publisher to cybersecurity company, and I love that I love creative problem solving to help facilitate this thing, and I love, like, there was one of my favorite moments, actually, honestly, in my entire career was with Fred and Adam. We were in Deadwood, South Dakota for the cybersecurity conference. And we were trying to figure out, well, we have this OGN that we wanted to do. How do you bring that to market? And it just came out, was like, we should just do a 100-page first issue. It's insane. It's wild. Who knows if it'll work? But like, it's just a great, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. It's not a lot of people do it. I've already had people be like, what are you guys doing? But that's my favorite stuff to do. So anyway, point being,
it just feels important, like you're just dropping this, I remember number ones used to be double sized. Ours is quadruple sized. Now X-Men relaunches new number one every year. Not us.
Right. And it's like 18 pages.
That's right. That's right. And 5 ads for other Marvel comics. But no, we have 100-ish page first issue. We're committed to keeping it in print, retailers and fans, don't forget. So that's just going to be there. So you don't have to worry about missing number one. It's always going to be there. And because it's 120 pages long, we're not going to combine it with other trades. It's just going to be the number one. And that's just a really neat way of doing business, I think.
Yeah. One of the guys, one thing I'll just say on that note is the CCO, Chief Creative Officer, or one of them, because there's 2 of them, John Strand and Jason Blanchard. Jason, we were talking about marketing strategy stuff the other few weeks. Actually, he's mentioned this a couple times, but it came up again a couple weeks ago. And he was like, just don't do what you've already done before. And to me, it's like, that's the challenge, And yeah, man. So you're asking me how the writing, editing, like, at the core of it is this, I love comics and I love being part of teams who make great comics, and that's what this team is doing. So,
well, and I think that's the editor. That's what makes a good editor, and it's why it's the only job I could ever do in comics. Is you have one person over here that from this thing, and you have another person over here that from this other thing, and figuring out, these 2 people working together are going to create magic.
Yeah,
you're the puppet master. On some level, right? Of going,
or
what?
Casting director, depending on what metaphor you
Yeah, I'd like casting director. You know what I really like?
What's his string?
I love
so Mike on me. Oh my god.
I love combat sports, right? I love combat sports, and I love boxing specifically. And like a lot of my job, for instance, like being a boxing coach. You know what I mean? Like again, I have an artist I'm working with right now, and it's like got to get them riled, like fired up. Here's the strategy we got to do. You know, this is the challenge that we have ahead of us. How are we going to utilize your skill set to knock out this challenge? Just absolutely kill it. You know, so different
No,
metaphors.
absolutely.
In the end, we're helping facilitate creating cool stuff. So.
Well, and I think the idea of marketing and never do what you've already done is bringing Adam Freeman in from Prana.
Oh yeah,
is like the master of never doing what they've already done.
yeah.
You know, I've worked with Adam long enough to know that guy has ideas on top of ideas about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, Adam. I mean, yeah, Adam rules. I've known him on the periphery, talking about like past careers and how that affects now. Like I've known on the periphery, like we kind of like forget if we were at Image and Top Cut at the same time, but it was kind of, you know, coincided. And he had a store when I was doing direct sales stuff and blah 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 blah. Anyway, point being, getting to work with him directly on this has been a treat. You know what I mean? Like the worst thing I feel like you can, like when people say, you know, people don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. Adam's never said anything like that before. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of conversations with Fred. You've been there for a lot of these. Like it's just crazy enough to work kind of stuff. You know, like big
Right.
bold swings, man. That's the kind of stuff I live for. And yeah, Adam's master at that. You know.
No, it's super true. So speaking of big bold swings and marketing strategy, and I don't know, I know Joe didn't know this before we started talking. I don't know if Fred knows this, but this week is Rekcah week here on the Experience. It's we are here on the Experience. Every one of our sales shows has this lovely book, this beautiful hardcover Kickstarter exclusive beauty that will be available on all of our sales shows this week exclusively on the Experience. Now, there'll be some other, you know, you may be able to find them on eBay or someplace from somebody who got them at Comics Pro or whatever, but the only place you as a customer can find them with any kind of, what's the word for, inventory would be here. So,
Can't figure out the mirror image of the camera. I give up.
It's,
Now you see,
anyway,
even the pros have trouble.
Yeah. Right. Well, this is anyway. So this is the hardcover. This is a self-contained introductory story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us
100%.
about this book, and then we'll talk more about all the things we're doing here on the EXP with regard to this book.
So the cover kind of says it sets you up quite nicely. It's a heist on the moon, in a casino on the moon. Like Black Hills Information Security, our heroes are Black Mountain, which is sort of this shady gray hat hacker combine in this not so near future. We're not really specifying exactly how far in the future it is. We have an older member of the character, Sally, who's got the cap on. I think she's in the middle there. She spent her whole life in orbit, so on Earth she has to wear an exoskeleton because of the gravity, Earth's gravity pulling her down. We make a recent allusion to her being a teenager in high school now. So Sally's age, I feel like, is a good. So in other words, she's old by our standards, the current my standards, although not too much older. But like I like that she can actually make references to things that happened when she was a kid, i.e., things that are happening right now. And the whole group basically has to stop a human trafficking ring on a casino in the moon. One of the things they're doing as part of the human trafficking is this is a recluse. It's a spa for aging billionaires who like to literally suck the blood of their young companions who work there, and that's hence the blood vials there. And so they've got to go out and free these people from a place that is 3 days away from any sort of governmental or backup, because that's how long it takes you to fly to the moon with our current state of technology. Also on the team there is Martina on the left with the blonde ponytail. She's sort of the meat work specialist. She's a former Olympiad, and she does all the physical infiltration stuff. So it's not just people behind keyboards. But back there is Eli, who is the main keyboard jockey, who knows every single vulnerability of every computer system known to man. But on the other hand, he also knows the vulnerability of like, your yogurt in your fridge and like crossing the street. And so he's a bit of a mess because he's constantly scared all the time he's full of anxiety about all these potential disasters that are out everywhere, which make him a very effective white hat hacker, but unfortunately is not great for his interpersonal relationships. Arf is the dog. His superpower is that he's a dog. But
Best superpower.
Yes, exactly. But on his collar, you can sort of see he's got this special collar there, lives an artificial intelligence named Art, who is sort of the fraud specialist. Like today's AI, Art specializes in stealing other people's ideas and images and reformatting them into ways that suit the team. And so he always is copying other things. So because of his name in this issue, he's different kinds of artists, but we're going to sort of change that up to what he's copying at any time. But he's not a bad guy. He's just programmed to steal, but he's also got a lot of emotional issues. And so Arf is his support dog, and he lives in a node on Arf's collar. And then wrapping all up on the right there is Wheeler, our man of mystery, our Professor X, if you will, the guy who's brought the whole team together and sends them out on mysterious missions. It's like the Charlie from Charlie's Angels, except he comes out of the tape recorder and is actually there with the team itself. So, and so you meet all these people, and they go on this crazy Mission Impossible, if you will, impossible mission on the moon against the world's richest man to fear the people he's kidnapped for their blood.
Wow. It's cool. Space vampires.
Well done.
Yep.
Yeah. No, so this book is a hardcover that we're offering. It was a Kickstarter exclusive previously. How many pages, that kind of stuff? Give people the rundown on what exactly they're buying when they pick up this book.
Well, I can do you one better. All right. I can do, the kids like the unboxing videos, right? So I've got one here. I'm going to do better than an unboxing video. I'm going to do an unwrapping video.
Which, by the way, that's the most satisfying. When you take the shrink wrap off of this book, it's so satisfying.
Isn't that beautiful?
When I undid my cover, when I undid my copy, I'm like, oh, this is great. It's like when you get a new phone and you peel the plastic off the face. Right,
you got to reflect it so they can see the spot gloss on there. Yeah, there we go.
See from the light from a window, you see the asterisks. The future is asterisks. Beautiful. And it's even on the back. See, so so I won't spoil anything, but yeah, so boom, gorgeous, any book art, amazing colors. This is the whole package. And so one of the things we've not brought up yet, we also have like Watchmen-esque documents from the world of the future is each one of these documents, and sprinkled throughout the story are what Black Hills like to call capture the flag challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I love what the design was. This Ryan too, Joe?
Yeah, so I was gonna say all the book design on here.
Pieces?
Yeah, the book design is Ryan Hughes. So the logo and the entire book, those interstitial pages, the introductory credits. It was awesome working with him.
He
is a legend.
So talented, and I got to meet him at London SuperCon. He is the nicest guy.
Oh, right on. Very cool.
And he did all the design, just to bring it back, of the Valiant relaunch.
Oh, very cool.
And he came on my table and said how much he liked Archer Armstrong, which was this Valiant book I did. And so so all these great, eat your heart out, Jonathan Hickman. I love John. But this is not just a wonderful infographic in Hickman style. It's also like a puzzle. Like, Joe, you might be able to explain the capture the flag thing better.
Yeah, so basically in its purest form, throughout not just the hardcover, but every single issue of the 60-issue run, there are these challenges you can do. And like some of them are, deciphering secret codes. Some of them may be more graphically focused, and you essentially use that to find a flag, which is a little code you can put in our website, and there'll be a leaderboard throughout the life of the series. And there'll be opportunities to kind of rise up the leaderboard of rewards for things. And so, Black Hills and this company Meta to CTF, who's working with us on the capture flag, gave us access to their own flag, like capture the flag challenges and what they call a cyber range. And dude, I've been addicted to that for months, like ever since the October or a little bit before October last year, whenever we got access to that. And it's a great way to learn. It's a great way. It's just fun too. And yeah, Fred has been really him and Roman from Meta CTF have been really great about like, okay, developing opportunities, put the stuff in there while not making that like the sole focus, right? It's not like we're wrapping a story around this. It's all very organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's unique.
Really by Ronan and those guys very organically sort of wrapped into the story, which is super cool.
Yeah. And again, that'll be every issue.
I'm going to make a little bit of an announcement.
Yeah.
If you're watching this right now and you buy the book from the EXP, or you're one of our EXP viewers, and you make the leaderboard, send me a screenshot of you making the CTF leaderboard on Rekcah's website, and we will have our own EXP leaderboard, and the winner every month will get a prize.
Nice.
What is that prize? Well, you got to make the leaderboard to find out. But you also, what you need to know is that means you have to beat me.
Oh wow!
So if you read our marketing email today, where we talked about Rekcah Week, at the bottom there is a little get started learning how to be a hacker link. So maybe start tuning up before you get the book, and then buy the book, and the gauntlet has been thrown.
Right on.
So that's one of the again, like this concept really speaks to what we do here in terms of this virtual comic store that is the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's we have a bunch of different comic sellers, a bunch of creators, publishers, all sorts of comic professionals gathered around, and we are a virtual comic store. It's the same experience you get when you go into your LCS, hopefully, but you could do it from the comfort of your couch through YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And if many of our viewers don't have local comic shops they can go into, which, by the way, you guys can maybe speak to, the future will only be available through local comic shops.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, I mean, down the line, of course, we'll do collected editions and things like that. But in terms of single issues, like that's another thing I really love about Adam, and I feel like he's really brought this book. And also, I will say too, I want to get additional credit is due. So Adam obviously ran a great comic shop. They won the Eisner Spirit of Retailing Award way back. So the reason I know Jason, the guy from Rekcah, he's the CCO of Rekcah, was because he ran a comic shop in Florida. It's called a comic shop. When I was at Image, they were the store at the time who was like, they could make a book for us. I mean, really, I'll just put it out there, And they were doing him and Aaron Allen were doing all sorts of really forward thinking. I mean, really, it doesn't surprise me you guys are collaborating on this, because it is really in line with that kind of thinking. Like, how else can we be doing what, they're the comics, like, they're not the only one, of course, but they're one of the big comic shops that really helped develop that community aspect that you've talked about a lot,
Absolutely.
So anyway, there's a love of comic shops from Jason to Adam to us. Like, I've read, I don't know you, I've worked at a comic shop called Neon Monster in San Francisco and Floating World Comics in Portland. Like, we love, like, the direct market system. Look, does it have its challenges? Absolutely. But it's still the best way to not just get comics out there, but also to, like, find a community of people. Like, I was living in Portland for a while. I go to Cosmic Monkey Comics with my friend Brandon. We go in and they'd have stuff reserved for us we didn't even ask for. Like, hey, we know we love old kung fu comics and old westerns. Like, here's this random stuff we found in the back room, and it was awesome. It was exciting. We would talk about it. That's unique, and it is worth cultivating and worth supporting. And we love comic book stores. So,
just real fast, I want to give a shout out to Aaron, who just opened his new store.
Yes,
this past weekend with Alan Gill and the gang from Ultimate Comics. So shout out to those guys for doing it. Like, Aaron was telling me like 6 months ago, hey man, you can't see anything, but this is what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
You guys are going to
really
do great
excited.
things. So,
and I'm really excited that he's teamed up with Ultimate.
Right.
Those are, like, in fact, so we're doing a little bit of a tour. We're going to be hitting up the Ultimate location in Cary, North Carolina. But even those guys, like, I would talk to Alan and those dudes at comic book conventions, but they would just have their, their display of back issue bins or whatever. We'd be talking about like I would only see them 4 times a year at comic book conventions, and they'd be like, "Dude, we have this Friday the 13th versus Leatherface book that was put out in the 90s. We know you love that kind of thing. Here you go. You got to grab it." And I was like, "Awesome." Like, people who love comics can really sell comics. Why would you go anywhere else?
Right, absolutely. So the Kickstarter is available exclusively on EXP here this week on all of our sales shows. Yep, the hardcover. And then next week you might be able to get it on some of our shops. Other places, just be watching. But that's leading up to May 28th, which is a Wednesday, when this guy hits. This is The Future is #1. This is if you can't tell, like, do you even art if you can't tell who did that cover? So tell us about #1 and about this killer Jay Lee cover.
So, as established, we all love comics here, and like, who better for a #1 issue cover than Jay Lee? You know, and I just, it wasn't just random, right? Like, if it was a different kind of book, maybe you get somebody else, but for this kind of book, it's a future, cool, weird sci-fi, other reality thing. Jay Lee and June Chung are the team that you want to kick things off. Like, and also, I'll reveal a little strategy. I knew that this cover would be awesome, and that other artists would bring on and be like, "Oh, dang, it's a really great cover. I really got to amp it up," you know. And like, that's why every single cover that we've had so far is a total banger. Maybe seeing more from Jay and June. Don't know if that's announced yet. So, internet, don't say anything. Actually, clear that with Adam first.
Tell anybody.
But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I knew it would be awesome. So that's why they were brought on board, you know. And again, every time I showed it to an artist, that was the first thing I'd hit him up. I'd be like, "Hey, Mike, hey, whoever, check out this Jay Lee cover," and be like, "All right, I'm in." That's why we have a bunch of awesome artists. So thank you, Jay, June.
You're here.
So can you tell us a little bit about what happens? We know what happens in the Kickstarter, the hardcover. How does that transition into issue 1, and where do we kind of start from? That way people can kind of know, all right, this is where I'm jumping in with both feet.
Yeah, well, the Kickstarter and the first issue are the same, like, well, mostly the same material. There's actually stuff in the Kickstarter edition that's coming down further down the line. But yeah, so this is the mass, like, you think of it like, I love mass market paperbacks, right? Got a whole lineup of them here. You know, like, there's the big hardcover comes out, and then there's the mass market one that has the awesome. And back in the day, it'd be like Frank Frazetta, Neil Adams, that kind of thing. Now it's Jay Lee, right? And then the second through 7th issue, really the 6th issue are all origin issues, and then the 7th issue is sort of the culmination of all of that stuff. So the first issue is I was just gonna say,
I was going to jump in and say
adventure.
that is totally accurate. I did want to point out, however, it's not just like an anthology of origin. The origin is
Right.
Wheeler gathering the team, and then the final issues of what we're calling the origin arc is the big heist they pull.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's very well said. That's it. That's #1. So, but the point is, if you've never read anything before, you're fine. This is the beginning. It's
right.
Technically, it's flash forward, but it's all you need to know is in this book.
We're not making it all about the CTF, but is the CTF different in this issue than it is in
There is a CTF that's only in the hardcover that's not in this. But there's back and forth, that kind of thing. So there's CTF stuff that you can only get I should have cleared what I can talk about, what I can't talk about. Let me just say that there's CTFs in every single issue.
Right. I'm just trying to find a way to go, hey, you got to buy them both.
Yeah, you do.
The
hardcover is like oversized, and it's got a different cover, and like I said, it's got bonus materials. So
just look at it. Look at how pretty it is. It's lonely.
I will say this: when I got my case of hardcovers, the UPS man actually cursed at me because the box was so heavy. So, like,
really,
it didn't. It isn't a small book, guys. You're getting good money. You're getting good bang for your buck. And we're talking about 120-page first issue, which is also good bang for your buck at $13.37.
Yes.
Which the pricing on this book is super fun for me as a computer nerd. So can you guys talk about what 1337 is on issue 1 and then the subsequent pricing on the rest of the issues?
Well, I'll say this because you don't want to explain the joke, but I will say it is a piece of hacker terminology for the first issue, 1337. And then every issue, so like number 2 is also an oversized issue. I think it's 40 pages plus cover. And then a subsequent issue, 32-page plus cover. And all of those from 2 on are all going to be a 404, which I think is a little more common. I'll say that as an error code, in the parlance. But yeah, I don't know. Like Jason said, don't do things the way you did it before. Everything's $3.99. Well, now it's $5.99. Yeah, we're doing a little bit different.
The thing I'm most excited for is the retailer groups on Facebook moaning about having to make 96 cents change.
Well, a lot of states have sales tax, so
yeah.
But going, what do you guys not want to make money? Like, who cares? Make the change. So as we build into the future is something that's interesting, and I've heard you guys talk about it before, but I want to make sure everybody kind of understands it. There are 5 asterisks at the end of the title. That there is no answer to what the 6.
6.
Okay, yep. I can't math. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But there is no specific answer to what those asterisks stand for, right?
Right.
Incorrect.
Oh.
It's different every issue.
Oh, actually, sorry, Joe. I totally forgot the thing. Yes, I take it back. Yes, I mean maybe. Kyle, hey, I thought these were gonna be softball questions.
Well, hey, can I?
Third degree.
Let me expand on this a little bit. So, Jason, Black Hills also does these conferences. They go to conferences like DEF CON, but they also run like Wild West Hacking Fest, which is the one that Fred, Adam, and I were at last October. But Jason would start doing a thing in because you go to the airport and a van picks everybody up. You go to the location, especially with Deadwood, right? You got to fly into Rapid City. It takes a while to get to Deadwood. So anyway, in the van, he'd ask, like, what do you think the future's going to be like of these conferences? What do you think we'll be doing? What do you think we'll be dealing with? What do you And each one person has a different answer. And so similarly, each issue of this has a different answer, different way to go about it. So.
Right. And that's kind of what I meant by there is no specific answer. It's not like in 60 issues, you're going to know what the asterisk stands for. It's every issue is a different answer.
Well, exactly. In every issue, you get a different answer and hopefully make up your own. I mean, I'll speak for myself. And I said this a little bit earlier, I think, but there's a friend of mine put it really well at one point, which is like, there's so much, the early 21st century, he had so much pop culture about how the world's going to drown you. Really needs to about how we're going to swim. And I feel like this is it. It's like, yeah, there's big problems, right? Fred mentioned, and big problems and opportunities. How are you going to navigate this? I know a lot of, Fred was kind of alluding to earlier, a lot of artists are freaked out about AI. Okay, AI, what are we going to do? Right? We're going to sit around and just cry about it? No way. Like, we're going to fight back. And that's what this book is.
And something else that I kind of mentioned at the top of the show, and I this may be more of a Jason and Black Hills question, but this is also going to teach some cybersecurity in a way that is not Spider-Man meets Mr. Electric. Don't stick your tongue in a light socket, kids. Going to teach you some cybersecurity stuff that you can apply to your everyday life to keep yourself safe in the ever-changing world of technology.
It's like, do you remember Video Man from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends? It's like you get sucked into the computer. My wife, when she was a kid, they did this musical in middle school, and this is like in the 80s. And so she sings this song that we're all addicted to, which is, man, I'm gonna have to make her teach it to me because we're about to go on tour and I've got to do this. Like, it's computers, the wave of the future. It goes on like that. It's just, sorry. I guess that's an in joke at our house. You'd have to be there. But I'm going to teach this ridiculous song they made her sing in 8th grade that she memorized. And so whenever I bring up this project, she's like, computers, the wave of the future. Very catchy. It's a bit of an earworm, so I'll inflict the comic book stores we get.
I look forward to our 15-hour van ride down the East Coast.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be like it's gonna put 98 bottles of beer on the wall to shame.
Yeah.
Noise canceling headphones.
Yeah. I mean, it gets into what it's talking about with John's two rules earlier. John Strand, the owner of the company, Erica Strand, the owners of the company, like he wants good comics first.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like this isn't one of those giveaway comics like you said where Spider-Man and Venom teach you how to, pay your bills or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's not that kind of thing. Like Fred, like as a comic book reader, I think Fred is and Ennio and Mario's the other artists, some other artists coming up too. I think it's just a great comic. I think if you stripped everything else away, it'd be such a killer sci-fi book on its own. And the fact that it's like a 60 issue era where everyone's like, I think we can only do 4 to 5 issues now. Like to me, like that's the kind of stuff I live for as a reader. All this other stuff is awesome and it's intricate and how like unique this is. But I mean, yeah, it's great story first, great comics first.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing nonfiction comics for like an obscenely long time. So I definitely like shy away from calling anything educational because trust me, don't ever do no, don't do that. But yeah, this is in sort of the vein of like Transmetropolitan or a lot of, great science fiction comics. I mean, just called my own comic great, but come on, you guys, I'm trying really hard to make it great. But the CTF and the educational stuff is there. It's like the special stuff. It's there if you want it. It's like dressing on the side, Kyle, you're totally into it, which is totally awesome. And I think that would be awesome if we got an EXP leaderboard going on to, so you don't get too complacent. We don't need to sit on your laurels there at the top of the leaderboard. So we definitely need to have some challengers there. But if you are like me and you've been playing this great video game Blueprints, and I've cheated about 40% of my way through that game. I don't want to. What does this mean? Not that you'll be able to find the solutions of our puzzles on the internet, but yeah, if you want a totally non or at least a minimally puzzle relationship with the book, you can have that as well. Just enjoy.
And I will say, like the way that Roman and the Meta CTF crew have devised these, it's not just like some random stuff that we figured out how to push it in. Like we were talking about earlier, it's very organic. And in fact, in a lot of ways, it helps like extrapolate a bit more about what is the situation actually like, and how would I actually deal with it, and I don't know. I think they're doing an incredible job. So,
absolutely, and again, like I want everybody to understand that hacking is not some big hard thing that dudes in, Guy Fawkes masks are the only people who know how to do. There are great white hat and ethical hackers all around you that are keeping you safe and making sure your bank doesn't get robbed and things like that. So I want you guys to understand that it's not so out there. It's not so hard. And I think this is a great way to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, the great thing, I think it was Jason said this, is they want to bring hacking into comic stores and hackers into comic stores,
right.
And I think that's a great, mission statement.
Right. One of my dear friends is a white hat for the federal government. And I sent him a text going, hey, man, do you know Black Hills InfoSec? And he goes, yeah, why? I go, they got a comic. And he goes, so you're just going to send them to me, right? And this is a guy who's never read comics. He's never really been into he's always been a computer guy. And so that crossover is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's also another crossover here that, let's get into it. Got time. It's not just how do we tell a great story and how do we do one single comic, but like there's an hacker edict that we all really love, which is like you break things to make them stronger. And it's like, well, how can you actually take that to how you actually sell and read comic books? You guys at EXP are already doing that. I think that's why it's such a natural crossover, but like, Jason was really an early adopter to the whole Discord model, which now is popping off in comic book stores. Black Hills has a Discord. I don't even know, like tens of thousands of people are on it.
Hundreds of thousands.
Rekcah has one with like Rekcah only, right? So there's Black Hills has one, and then Rekcah has one, and the Black Hills one is really active. I'll often post art there and be like I had Nick Patera gave us a couple of layouts to choose from for his cover. I just put it to a vote. I was like, which one do you like? And he also gave us a couple color variations to choose from. Nick Patera he did Manhattan Projects and Axe Wheeler John. And so I had them vote, and they were totally into it. And it was cool because it wasn't just us making this thing in isolation and it coming out to the market. It was like this relationship that you actually have, this community that you actually have. And so the stuff that stores like Adams and Jason's and Ultimate Comics, Third Eye Comics, like stores like that now exists the stuff that you guys are doing through your channel now exists in this other realm, and that's really like, I love this comic book. I love comic books in general, and I spent a little time away doing other stuff, living life, working in other industries, and then coming back, it's like now it's sometimes like, okay, well, where can we go from here? And to be blessed to be on this team with people who are thinking that way, like I think we're all actively thinking, how do we leave this campsite to make it strong, like better than we found it when the book's done in 5 years, you know? So I don't know, man. It's exciting times. It's gonna be cool. We got a cool stuff brewing.
Yeah, no, I'm very like that right there. How do you break things to make them stronger has been my entire job for 5 years in building this channel is how do we get the guy who is one of our viewers who lives in the Arctic Circle his
Yeah.
comic books? Well, how do we break the system that has failed that guy and make it stronger because now he can get his books? So I
And
love
also,
that.
what's the
And
best part? Like, people always want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, the best parts of that are like, I love the direct market. What Phil Singling Company built, back in the 70s, born out of the head shops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's still so much people like. I could go on a long rant. I'll go on a very short rant. People will like cry about the sky falling with that. And I was like, no, there's still so much brilliance there, and there's still so much great stuff there in a unique community that does not exist anywhere else. What does that look like in the future? Because it's going to look like something. And we're here to be part of that. And help build it.
Yeah. So we've got just a few minutes left. This is 60 issues, one a month for 5 years.
Correct.
That is a big bite, but I love that y'all are committed to it. But what else are we working on? Joe, do you have anything else you're working on, or is this it right now?
No, I do. I'm not sure what I can talk about, what I can't talk about. But I will say there's
if it's easier, tell people where they can follow you so when you can talk about it, they can find out.
Yeah. LinkedIn and Instagram are the two that I am active on. It's all just Joe Keatinge. Rekcah Comics for everything that we're doing as an organization. I got a website, they got Instagram, very active LinkedIn. Jason really is one of the a lot of this community stuff was born out of the live streams that he would be doing through LinkedIn and YouTube. Got something cooking on the YouTube channel. Well, I guess I just spoiled it, but I got more stuff coming soon. And so, yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn, check those out. More on the way.
Absolutely.
Fred?
How about you, Fred?
Well, All New Harbinger comes out in September, I believe, from IDW. Actually, they're the ones putting out Valiant via Alien now. 1 week before The Futurist comes out, the trade of Murder Kingdom, my giallo, or if you prefer slasher story set at a fairy tale themed amusement park in Florida. No relation to any actual park. No mice well, that's not true. Many mice and park workers were murdered during the course of this book, but it's super awesome. And the trade is out on May 20th from Mad Cave. And Chris Ponda is the fantastic artist on this.
Cool.
And there's other stuff that, like every comic book artist I have been, by law, I'm mandated to allude to a bunch of secret projects I can't talk about, but it's true.
That is true. And Fred, where can people follow you so that when you can talk about the secret projects, they can find out?
Yes. I'm everywhere on the internet, on Gmail. It's my Gmail address. It's just my name. You can spell my name there on the screen. This mirroring thing, I forgot it. You see it. It's in the corner. That's me. Everywhere.
Awesome.
I'm more on Blue Sky is more of my social media home these days.
Which is someplace
Instagram, I'm on X, the whole thing.
Blue Sky is someplace we're transitioning to as well, because it seems like it was where all the comic people went. Yeah. So very happy to be over there. Tomorrow, guys, I'm going to give you a little spoiler about something here on the experience. On Minute to Skim It, which is 7:00 tomorrow, I will have read the entire hardcover. Plus, I got 2 other issues in a super secret, I didn't realize someone was sending it to me review pack for Rekcah Publishing. So I will have the whole thing read and we'll review it for you tomorrow on Minute to Skim It. If you stick around here and let's call it 10 to 15 minutes from now, you'll have your first opportunity to pick up the hardcover on Comic Collectibles with Rex live from Dynamic Forces as they kick off Rekcah Week. And then all of our sales shows will have the hardcover issue 1 available the rest of this week. So I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Joe and Fred for being here. You guys, I'm very excited about this project. I'm sure we will be talking a lot more as this 5 years goes on and as I continue to try to hold the top of the mountain on the EXP leaderboard. But I really do appreciate all the hard work you guys have done and all the appearances and stuff that we've had at promoting this book. Very excited. I think this is really is the future is of comics. So
there you go. Thanks for having us.
Right on, man. Yeah, thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure.
All right, everybody, stay tuned for all the other great shows here on The Experience. Thanks to these guys, and we'll see you next time.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time.